Do you dream of success and think of the day all of your problems will go away? Welcome back to another episode of the Mental Health Break. Today's episode features Tamanna Roashan, who is a beauty icon, social influencer, and successful entrepreneur. Tamanna will share the highs and lows of success and how she maintains her mental health and well-being. Hi, I'm Dr. Nafisa Sekandari, a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety-based disorders. I created the Mental Health Break podcast to give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you prioritize your mental health. Mental illness can cost you time and money. Ignoring your symptoms will only make the problems worse. Taking time out of your busy day to dedicate to improving your mental health can lead to long-term health and wellness. In this podcast, each week you'll learn tips, tricks, and proven strategies to help you regain control of your life, all while prioritizing your mental health. If you want to improve your life, regain control of your mental health, and feel empowered, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Today's episode is brought to you by the Transforming Anxiety course, an online, self-paced anxiety course to help you manage and control your anxiety from the comfort, privacy, and convenience of your own home. Learn how to transform your anxiety in just 6 short weeks. Course registration is now open, and for a limited time, save 50% off the total course price. That's 50% off 6 months worth of therapy material. Enter code APRIL at the time of checkout. To learn more, visit transforminganxiety.com/course. I am so excited to talk to Tamanna Roashan from Dress Your Face, talking to me today about the mental health impact of success and fame. Let me briefly introduce her before I bring her on. Tamanna Roashan is a global beauty educator, marketing and social media guru, serial entrepreneur, and founder of DressYourFaceLive.com. Tamanna Roashan is also known as Dress Your Face, with over 2.5 million followers on Instagram, and is an LA-based makeup artist turned businesswoman who used her unique teaching talents and ethnically diverse artistry to create a full-fledged beauty business, making her a founder and CEO at 29 and a self-made millionaire by the age of 30. Today, she's one of the most sought-after international beauty educators in the world, selling out massive hands-on masterclass shows across the globe and teaching weekly classes on her very own platform, DressYourFaceLive.com, which is the first and number one most subscribed to live online beauty tutorial site in the world. With an array of highly acclaimed beauty product collaborations and several sold-out clothing collections under her belt and counting, she also manages being a full-time hands-on mother, homeschooler, and momager to her 4-year-old daughter, Aaliyah, an online sensation and influencer herself with almost 150,000 Instagram followers, and her 6-month-old son, Rian, who are both already representing major brands, including Honest Company and Mattel. Her next moves are already in the works, including building her very own beauty brand from scratch and expanding her existing lines to add even more affordable high-end products for her loyal supporters. So welcome, Tamanna. I'm so glad to have you here on our podcast talking about mental health.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
So I briefly introduced you a little bit and talked a little bit about your amazing background. You are so talented in so many areas with design and makeup. I'm always blown away by your creations alone. Just your Halloween designs and costumes are incredible.
That's the time that I get to have fun. So,
Oh my gosh, it is so amazing. So I remember even when you were getting married that you were involved with all the little intricate details of your own wedding planning. So can you tell me a little bit about your background as a makeup artist and then as a designer, and how old were you when you figured out how talented you were?
oh my gosh. You know what? I feel like a lot of people are just kind of born into certain fields and interests, right? So, like for me, art was just running through my veins, and art is so broad. Like it includes design, it includes, painting and drawing and all that stuff. And like just overall, like all things beautiful is just what I'm attracted to. And different ways to express myself and just kind of be in the zone. And I think as an only child, like just since I was as far as I could remember, I've just kind of been on my own and doing my own thing. And art was just one of those things that I fell into. And I think it was, like I said, it just kind of ran through my blood because my grandmother was an artist. She was a painter. And she was also a poet. And my grandfather's a journalist, so we're good with words. And it just kind of trickled down. My parents are into music. My husband's into music too. So I'd be surprised if it didn't get through to my kids' interests as well. So I don't know. I can't really even tell you where it started. It's just always been there. But I guess once I hit high school, I started actually thinking about things I wanted to do as a hobby. And makeup artistry was one of those things. Fashion design was one of those things. So I've been sketching clothes since I was in high school and doing people's makeup since I was in high school. And I didn't really think of it as a real career, makeup artistry, I mean, until later on. I guess not that much later. I was still in high school, but it was towards the end of high school when my parents decided to pitch me out to some brides. They were doing bridal video and photo, and they started pitching me as a makeup artist to their clients, and I would get hired to do bridal artistry before I even did any other type of artistry. So it just kind of worked out, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing that just the Arabic eye that became your signature look alone was just amazing and iconic. And so you're an artist. That's what I've always noticed about you. That I mean, I've known you for over 10 years. I met you in Fremont or in the Bay Area when you actually cut my hair and my daughter's hair. And so it was like a long time ago, and I've been following you and just seeing your career just rise and change. And you've been really successful. Now you've amassed over 2.5 million Instagram followers. You're a social media influencer. You're very successful in your business.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Like I said, since I've been following you, like I think we became Facebook friends over 10 years ago. And I remember even reaching out to you about just the kind of negativity that I was seeing online. So I wanted to talk about just the impact of fame and success. And a lot of people feel like, oh, if I make it, if I became a millionaire, if I become successful in my business, my life will be fixed and I'll be so happy and just it's all going to be perfect. But
Right.
that's not always the case, is it?
Never. That is never the case. I mean, that's a part of the case, but every story has two sides, and everything you see on social media is just like one small aspect of the bigger picture. And so what a lot of people don't understand, or maybe they've seen it, but they don't really understand the gravity of it, is the more people see you, the more they almost dehumanize you.
Mhm.
And then the keyboard warriors come out and they honestly don't even feel guilty about saying some of the things that they say, because they would never say that in person.
To your
But
face.
online, and when they see that someone has so many followers and so much fame or whatever they're seeing, they think that their words just don't really cut, and they still do. And it's just one of those things. Yeah, I guess it comes with the territory. It shouldn't have to, but it does. And so that's just the other part of this, like, glamorous life that you see, is that unglamorous side, the part that really can affect you mentally and physically too.
Well, I know you're very beloved, I guess, by your followers, and you've managed to keep all of those followers over the past 10 years. So, can you just, for people that may not know you, can you tell me a little bit about how you got started and then how you ended up where you are today?
Yeah, so I was blessed to be in the era right before social media blew up. So my career was already taking off in, like, the real world. I was known for my makeup artistry throughout the area that I was living in locally. I was kind of like a local celebrity, if you want to call it that, way back then. And I was, once social media really started to gain traction, I, of course, jumped onto every platform that would pop up. So in the beginning, it was like MySpace and Friendster and those kind of social media platforms. Then we migrated over to Facebook, and now it's Instagram and TikTok and all these other platforms that are sprouting out. But Instagram and Facebook being the strongest two, Instagram being my strongest one. So I did focus a lot of time on Instagram, and organically was able to grow my following simply from oversharing everything I knew. And that was one of the things that set me apart, was being very generous with my knowledge, and not feeling like sharing my tricks would be growing the competition, because that's not how it works. I kind of was more for creating a community and helping each other grow. And I feel like a lot of people just kind of stayed on over all these years because they saw that this wasn't a negative space. It wasn't meant to be a negative space or like a cutthroat kind of a place. It was more like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what you can do to get here too, or, you know, whatever it is, whether it's in business or artistry or wherever your career is taking you. So that's kind of how things grew. But as far as like things that became viral and things that made me jump up to the next level as, with follower counts and my like name fame, yeah, it was my East meets West artistry, the Arabian Eye, my Indian brides, my Afghan brides, all that beautiful ethnic flair that people would see on my page at that time was very rare. Now I'm very proud to see that we have representation all over the map. And you know, more people were able to follow the footsteps of the OGs, including myself, who kind of paved the way for more brown girls to be in the spotlight and to kill it in their careers. And so yeah, that's kind of how it started as an OG way back then, and now it's blossomed into a beautiful community. I call my Instagram followers my family. I don't even like saying followers because it's a two-way relationship that I consider us having. I give and I receive as well, and it's a beautiful, trusting, I guess, mentorship that I have with a lot of people there.
Yeah, I mean, you are very generous with all that you share. And I've noticed even that when you were, like I said, before you had the mass following, before you became a social media influencer and a celebrity in your own right. So as a psychologist, I deal with a lot of mental health, and I wanted to kind of talk about not only your success and your journey, but like I mentioned before, there's always a dark side to it. And I remember I don't know if you remember this, but a long time ago, I became concerned for you, and I reached out to you on on Facebook, and I was like, "You're putting yourself out there. I'm really worried. You're getting so many negative comments, and people were so awful, and you were just snapping back." And I'm just like, I was worried about your mental health, and you were like, you knew what you were doing. I was like so private at that time. I've only recently, the past 2 years, put myself out there online. I was so private, so afraid of the backlash or the
Yeah.
negative feedback that people can give you.
Mhm.
So, can you just talk a little bit about just the challenges you went through, just dealing with all that over the years, but not just the haters, but also you had personal stuff going on in your family. And as you're growing and becoming successful financially and creatively, there's a lot of stuff that you were going through. Can you kind of talk about that, and then how you dealt with the haters and the imposters that were trying to just copy your brand?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it is always a challenge, right? To be on social media and give so much of yourself when so many people are watching every single move you make and can be offended by every single move you make. And even the most natural, beautiful thing can be offensive to so many people. Um, you know, my birth was offensive to a lot of people. It was, you know, one of those things that I wanted to share. And I didn't share too much of it on Instagram. I had a vlog about it on YouTube, but it was very edited and very like tastefully done. And still, there's always that small group of people that just are offended by everything you do. Starting off, I was very young, and I think that one of the important things that I need to touch on is the evolution of my thought process too, and kind of what you shouldn't do if you are in a position that I'm in. So when I was younger, I was very feisty. And you remember, I would snap back and fight back and defend myself very openly and shamelessly. I still do that from time to time if I really absolutely feel like I have to, but not to that extent. I was, like I said, younger. I was not very wise in that part. Things were very new to me. I mean, the growth definitely was not overnight, but the haters that would come up, I mean, first it was just little by little, and then it just kind of exploded out of nowhere into like hate pages and death threats and people wanting to hurt my family. I mean, it was just, it got to a point where it was scary, but also it just pissed me off. And so I would fight back and I would, spend a lot of time almost seeking out those haters. What I learned was that behavior from me was only making matters worse. It allowed them to have spotlight. It gave them my time of day when I was already a very, very busy person. And like you said, I had a lot of family things going on, people unwell in my close knit family that needed me too. And so I was just being spread very thin, where my attention was with my grandmother who was unwell and so and so. And at the same time, I'm on my phone trying to stop all these, lies from spreading, and just people who literally wanted to see me go down. And I say this not in a way where, oh, like I had it all and they were trying to take it away. They were doing this to every influencer. It wasn't just me. But when you're in it, you feel like it's just you. So I felt very personally attacked, and I fought a lot. And what I learned was it was extremely damaging to my mental health, and that was very damaging to my physical health. I don't know if anyone who's watching this right now remembers my old posts from many years ago. I would say like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. But I became very skinny and very sick looking. I definitely, oh my gosh, I felt like my stress showed on my face and body, and my attitude was very just nasty at times because I felt like I was just kind of beat into that person. My career was phenomenal. Things were really taking off. I was doing collaborations with enormous brands, massive brands. And I was touring with my master classes. I mean, I was at like an all-time high at that point. And so a lot of people didn't even realize what was really going on with me. So as I grew from certain situations, I learned some lessons the very, very hard way. And one of those lessons happened when I was trying to grow my family for the first time. It took over a year to finally conceive because I was so stressed, and I'm sure I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping at all. And mentally, when you're in a dark place, it physically takes a toll. Unfortunately, I got pregnant, but we lost. It was a twin pregnancy. We lost one baby, and then a short while later, we lost the other baby, and that was right in the midst of one of the biggest internet bullies who had created YouTube videos against me and some of the other influencers out there, and was creating full on episodes just about me and creating lies and rumors to get people to leave me or to cancel me, basically the cancel culture. And it hurt me so much because this wasn't the truth. They were spreading complete lies, and I was constantly showing receipts to defend myself. And what I mean by receipts is proof to defend myself from the allegations that were happening. And it was to the point where my husband and I were taking shifts online in the middle of the night. There was one night that he would stay up and watch for the comments and the hate, and I would stay up another night, and we would just go back and forth. And it was so taxing on not only me physically, my husband as well. Our relationship, our whole dynamic had changed, and we were focused on the hate. And ultimately, when we lost our first pregnancy, that's when I realized, oh my God, I've been doing this wrong this entire time. Like, you learn what the bigger picture is, you learn what's more important. And obviously, reputation is everything to me, but family has to come first. My health has to come first. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I knew that my family depended on me too. I had just lost my grandmother. I had lost the babies. I felt like I was just losing my life. Everything was slipping away, even though on paper, look at what she's done. Look at all these things that she's accomplishing, and look at how her followers are growing. but you see that other side and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what's really happening. So I made a decision at that point in my life to just turn it off. I stopped seeking the hate. I blocked those channels mentally. I stopped myself from going on YouTube and looking for that. My husband stopped. We all basically just was like, you know what? People are going to say what they're going to say regardless. There's only so much we can do to defend ourselves. But if people want to believe the worst in you, they will always believe the worst in you. If people have your back and are loyal and understand where you are coming from and trust to stay with you throughout your journey, then they will stay with you throughout your journey. You can't force people to like you, even when you do show that this is a lie, I am not this person. They will forever think the way they think, and there's nothing we can do about it. So why am I going to hurt myself, my mind, my body, my family because of what someone else thinks of me? And always to remember that this is just such a small percentage, like 1% of the people who know me versus the 99% of the people who have my back and will always support me and trust what I'm saying because they know the relationship that we've built these past so many years. So I think that mental switch had to happen. I think the worst had to happen to us. Hitting rock bottom sometimes is a huge wake-up call. I wish no one has to hit rock bottom to get that wake-up call, but sometimes we just have to go through it, and that's what we did. And I think that it was just meant to be this way because after that, everything changed. My whole mentality changed.
Wow. I'm so sad about the loss of the twins. And I remember how difficult that time was. And I remember you talking about taking shifts just to, or if people protecting you from the hate comments, right? But people don't care as long as they're getting it's the clickbait. It's just because your name is big, you become not even a person anymore to them. You become a source of what they can get out of you. And if it's spewing hate against you just to get people to watch, then they'll do that. And that's what's so difficult about online.
100%. And you're right. A lot of it is clickbait. And that's exactly what is happening, even with like big brands. If a brand is exploding and they come out with a product, someone's going to find that one little negative thing about that product and blow it up out of proportion. And bam, now that became the viral topic is, oh my gosh, this number one brand now has a crappy product. And it's not even a crappy product. Like I'm trying these products and I'm not being hired by these brands to say something positive. I do honest reviews. And so I know that this is not the case, but I also know that, okay, they're hustling in their own way. They're trying to get views because this product is the newest product and it's from a hot brand. They're going to tear it down. And now everyone follows suit and a whole bunch of people come together, tear the product down. And it's heartbreaking. It's really sad that this is what it's come to just to get some views on Instagram or on YouTube.
And I think it all came around that same time when the internet came, the haters came out, the trolls came out, right? It's very easy to hide behind your keyboard and spew hate. And they would never say that to your face. I'm sure when they meet you, they're gushing about how much they love you. And then behind your back, they can say whatever just to get that attention.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what's so hard. But what I'm so proud of you is as a woman, it's hard enough to make it in any kind of business. We're always struggling. And to be taken seriously, we have to work twice as hard as a man. But you've made it not just as a woman, but as a Muslim woman and as an Indian woman, as an Afghan woman, all while embracing your unique background and then educating your followers unapologetically about your background and your culture. And I've just really loved that you've been able to be true to yourself and not compromise yourself. But what made that possible for you? What made you feel so strong and confident that you could completely be yourself and say, this is who I am, love me anyway?
Can I tell you something really interesting? So my parents have always been very supportive of everything I wanted to do ever. No matter what it is, they've been supportive. Even when I was approached by a network to do a reality show, they were supportive on that. And I thought that they would be like, absolutely not. What are you thinking? They're going to portray you so bad. But they were like, go for it. If that's what your gut's saying, go for it. I ended up not going for it because my gut said no. But when it comes to that, one thing that they did not, and when I say they, I mean, mainly my dad. He's very open-minded, super open-minded for a Muslim Afghan man. He's like a hippie, very like lovey, and like love is his religion. Okay. Um, he always said, do what you want to do, show your life on social media if you'd like, but try to separate when it comes to like politics and things that are controversial, things that may not directly involve your career path, and try to stay away from that kind of stuff, because that could really really hurt you in the long run. And that was just coming from a place of concern, because I'm a very opinionated person, just like a lot of us are. When you're given a platform, you want to share your opinion. People want to hear your opinion. You get engagement. Back in Facebook, before I was even on Instagram, once in a while I remember saying something about Islam, something, and I love Islam. I love my religion. But I am not the most religious person. And people at that time did not even deem me as a Muslim person, because I'm half Indian. My mom is Hindu. So how can this girl know anything about Islam, right? So, and knowing that my dad is, a hippie. So I would say certain things, very brief statements, but like, something. And I would get a ton of people trying to debunk what I just said. And then I'd get all these other people completely agreeing with what I'm saying. And it would just be this huge controversial topic. And it would honestly, I would thrive from it, because I would never get to have these really intellectual conversations about a deeper thing. And I miss that. And I'm the only child. I really didn't have a lot of people to talk to about this kind of stuff, especially when it came to religion. I had my cousins and stuff, but we wouldn't really get into that. We would party and have fun. So I kind of had that on social. Well, things would always get heated, and my dad would always be like, oh my God, what am I telling you? Get out of this conversation. Like, stop pushing it. You're pissing a lot of people off. And I'm like, you know what though? It's actually strengthening my beliefs, talking about it and hearing both sides and kind of educating myself on more and more and more. And I'm not just a makeup artist, right? I'm not just a mom. I'm not just a woman. I am someone that has different opinions about different ideas. We're multifaceted, and we have so much to give and so much to learn too. And why can't social media be that for me, as well as being my bread and butter? And so, that may not always work out, but somehow I kind of slowly did my thing. And of course, I would take long breaks from it. And I did. I wanted to listen to my dad and stay away from it, but somehow it just kept pulling me back. And now I'm at the point where, you know what? I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm not this little inexperienced girl who's just learning about something. I've been there, done that. I have lived half my life almost. And, I'm at that point where I feel like I do have something more to give than my career advice, and I'm not here to just treat my platform as one thing. Like I said, I want to gain a little something from it too, intellectually as well. And putting up little conversations and having fun and learning about other cultures and them learning about my culture makes me happy. And now it's to the point where people actually ask me, they're in my DMs, non-Afghans, non-Indians, and they're like, oh my gosh, can you tell me more about Ramadan? Can you tell me more about Eid? Could you tell me more about Diwali? Where does it come from? I'd love to learn more. And people are so interested. And how beautiful is that? Like, social media can be a very cruel place, but social media is also a place where the whole world is now coming together and celebrating things together. Big things, big moments, and big, holy days where people can really learn a thing or two from each other and from different walks of life. And I just think this is just such a beautiful opportunity to be a part of that. And that's why I just continued sharing and, showing who I am. And, if people want to learn more, I'm all for it. And I try to share as much as I can in a very, very fun and educational way.
Well, that's the beauty of Islam. There isn't just one look. You probably shared and did more for Islam and educating the world about Islam than somebody that's out there preaching, saying you need to pray, you need to do this, you need to do that. I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's like everybody is very diverse. There isn't just one look.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many Muslims in this world and from every country. Like it's not all the, Saudi Arabian Muslims, or it's
Right.
not all like one type. There's so many. And because life is so different in different parts of the world, you have to kind of adapt to how you are going to be practicing in your own ways. But ultimately, yeah, this is the religion and this is, what we're going to follow. And I feel like if people are interpreting it in a way that is beautiful for them and it makes them closer to God in their way, then that's the ultimate point, right? To get closer
Yeah.
to God in a way that makes sense for you and your family. So it's not a one size fits all. It never is. And so that has been kind of my argument on this. And I think, being someone who's mixed, I can share that part. And obviously, yeah, there has been some stressful conversations, because of my Hindu mom and how that ties in with it. And I think that that's also what gave me a very thick skin, coming back to the whole mental health. Um, from a very young age, dealing with two different religions in my bloodline, I've dealt with a lot of judgments since the very very beginning of my life, and so I learned what to say to who and how to word my arguments in a way that's less offensive to those who may not appreciate it. And sometimes it has opened people's eyes. And so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, because I don't look a certain way. I mean, I started off wanting to reach out to the Muslim community and educate them about mental health, but because I didn't look a certain way, I didn't wear the hijab, I wasn't considered religious enough. How dare I try to work with Muslims
Oh,
because I'm not covered? And it's like you missed the whole point. What I'm trying to do is not educating people about Islam. I'm really trying to help people prioritize their mental health and be
yeah.
mentally healthy. And you're not preaching anything about, look at me, super Muslim woman. I just want to talk
Yeah.
about how much I love my religion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, yeah, I mean, it can be really difficult. So, given that, you have gone through so many challenges, not only being from two different cultures and two different religions, and then growing up in America, but just also dealing with all of your hardships over the years, what gives you strength and what keeps you growing in the midst of all you've been through, all the challenges you face personally as well as professionally? And then we're talking about maintaining our mental health. So how do you maintain your mental health in the face of all these challenges?
Like I said, I'm not the most religious person, but I have to say the only thing that's really brought me back to reality every time things just feel like it's haywire is God, my relationship with God. I pray in a very kind of conversational way. Like I have that type of relationship with God where I, at any point in time, if I feel very stressed or down, or if something has happened in my family that I just don't understand, I let it out in a conversation with God. And ultimately, at the end of it, I gain so much clarity, even if I'm so upset that I'm blaming him, because I'm only human. There are times that I've literally blamed him for what's happening. Like, how are you allowing this? And why are you so unfair to my dad? And why are you, whatever the situation is. But at the end, once you release all of that and you are in that vulnerable state when you're talking, even if you're not a believer, okay? If you let it out and just talk in a room by yourself, you hear the words echoing. And then you can almost respond to yourself like, no, this is not what you're seeing. What you're seeing is this, and this is the bigger picture. I have something so much better for you. Trust me, this is just this phase. This is just whatever it is. And I just gain clarity after it, and I'm able to kind of put things into perspective. And one of the other things that I have to remember, when it comes to when things are tough, things may feel like it is just rock bottom for you, but in reality, other people are having much worse situations. I'm not saying that to negate the situation you're in, because what's rough for me is relative to what I've experienced. What's rough for you is relative to what you've experienced, and everything has different degrees. So what may be extremely painful for me is probably like, that's not even that bad to you because of what you may have dealt with. So everyone's pain and everyone's anguish is valid. But when you look at that bigger picture, and I look at, oh my God, so and so actually went through something similar, but it was like way worse. And, this is how they coped with it. Or, and I'm looking at other influencers, or I'm looking at, people in other countries, for example, if that's something that, is the situation, people who are sick, why is this happening to, my family? And then I'm like, oh my gosh, but other people, like, they actually lost their dads. Like, I'm lucky to have him still, like, you just kind of, it's easier said than done, of course. It's just like a mental switch. And sometimes you can't even do that switch until you release everything. So yeah, I think one of the things that just helped me, like I said, is just like having that conversation, pouring it all out. Sometimes I do that on Instagram in my stories. I'm so deeply connected to my followers. They know all the good and the bad and the ugly that I have dealt with and I'm still dealing with. They pray for my family all the time. And I'm so grateful for that type of, bond with them. And so sometimes when I feel like I just need those extra prayers, or I need those extra good vibes coming my way, I pour it a little bit out on my Instagram stories. And the people that are reading these stories, the people who truly, truly love me and my family, will come to me with the most beautiful, uplifting messages. And sometimes that's all we need too. We just need that one message from that one person looking from the outside in, just to put a little perspective into what's happening to you. So, I mean, just all these little things, I guess, have helped me. And of course, that big mental switch after, losing the first pregnancy, that was, I think, the biggest thing, is realizing the hard way that I have to come first. My health has to come first. And that has always been a very taboo topic for our people. I'm saying this like in general, brown people, Asian people. A lot of, the old school mentality is, oh gosh, you don't even know what stress is. Come on. Like, you haven't been there. You don't know. And very dismissive from elders that are like seeing what you're going through and not fully understanding the depth of it. We are living in such a complex time, and there's so many layers to depression that you may not even understand that you're depressed or stressed or placed in a place that is so hard to get out of. And it just, you slip and slip and slip and slip and slip. And sometimes you don't even realize that it's happened, until you're just in a very dark place. And I would hate for it to be that much harder for someone to get out of it. But it's hard to ask for help from, our parents or grandparents who just don't believe that mental health is a serious disease. And so you end up never getting treated. So a lot of that with me, and I would never say that my parents are not, supportive of mental health. They've always, like I said, they've always been supportive of everything I needed to do. But of course they would have that mentality, like, my daughter isn't depressed. Look at her thriving. Like, she's not. And I wouldn't say that I'm depressed, but I've gone through so much stuff that have put me in such a dark place. And I felt like I have had to pull myself out. Like, my husband and I have had to just pull ourselves out, alone, without the help of our elders or other people who could have possibly really helped, because we just either didn't want to stress them out or make them worry about us, or we just felt like maybe they might have dismissed us, our feelings, whatever the case may be. But if you do have someone in your family that you can really go to with this, then use them. And I think the first thing, and you might agree, is having a conversation. Even if you're not in that deep place, having a conversation about mental health with, the old school people of your family, and seeing where they stand with it, and maybe just having an open and honest conversation of, have you ever felt really, really sad? Have you ever felt really, really depressed or alone? Whatever. And then like opening up that way. I never really had that conversation with my parents. So I just didn't know what to do when I was in that situation. And so I had to figure out ways that I could just pull myself out.
Well, this is why I'm so passionate about it. My mission is to eradicate the stigma that's associated with mental illness. And it is a huge part of our community. I mean, just as Muslims in general, it's taboo to go to a therapist and talk, when our own prophet would sit with his people and talk to them and counsel them. And we have such a rich history of mental health in Islam. But yet there's such a taboo within the Muslim community about going and talking to somebody, because a lot of times your family isn't going to support you. They're like you said, they're like, what do you have to be depressed about? Look at all the people that are suffering around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or like, look at us. We're so happy. We're together. We're alive. Like, that's all that matters. And it's not, yeah, of course, that's what matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many other things that matter and that hurt us. So
Right.
yeah, opening up the conversation and just removing that stigma is a huge, huge step.
I mean, even with my family who are from Afghanistan, we escaped a war. I mean, I literally remember we were like in the middle of the night and just leaving with our pajamas on. And then when they came here, they had the same survivor's guilt that the Jews had during Nazi Germany. It's like, well, we survived. We're better off than the people that suffered and stayed back. And they never sought help. They never dealt with their depression and the loss of home and life. And they just go on and not realize that they are sinking deeper and deeper into depression. But they, like you said, what do we have to be depressed about? We survived. We're here. We're safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
It's really it's sad, and I think we need to do more to eradicate that mental health stigma. We all have a head, we all have a body. We're going to have depression at times. We're going to have anxiety, so it's okay to talk to somebody and get help.
Yeah.
I do want to say I'm so happy that your dad is doing well and he's healthy, and seeing him with your son. So,
yeah, thank you so much. I swear it's everyone's prayers and like me just telling him like everyone's rooting for you, dad. Like it's a mental thing. Like if you want to get better, if you want to fight, if you have something to look forward to, you find that thing. And for him, it was Rion, my son, the birth of him, and now seeing him grow, like that's his biggest happiness and best painkiller, he says, is my daughter and my son.
but I'm also a huge believer in prayer because it has energy. I mean, people from around the world, millions of people praying for you and your family definitely makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
And you also mentioned you share your struggles and your stories, and your supporters send you the love and the positive vibes. It's like Oprah. She always talks about how she's like, I've never been to therapy. I've gotten all my therapy on stage, interviewing people and talking about my own problems and being completely open.
Yeah.
Basically talk therapy. So given that you are so busy and you're managing your businesses and your thriving business empire, and now you have 2 kids, what's your self-care routine nowadays?
What self-care? I'm just kidding. Honestly, I know this isn't probably considered the healthiest way to do, to live life, according to a lot of people, but my self-care is my work. And I know that, like I said, like people are like, no, you need something else aside from work to escape. And, your work can't be your everything. But my work is my escape because it's art, it's creation. I sit down and I create content for my online classes. I sketch designs for my upcoming clothing collection. Like that's my meditation. That is literally how I meditate. I don't actually meditate. It's not for everyone. Okay. I don't sit here and do breathing exercises because that's not who I am. And that doesn't calm me down. Although every single person I know does yoga and loves it. I'm just one of those people that I'm sorry, I don't like yoga. It just doesn't do it for me. So you find the thing that works for you. And if that happens to be something that you also monetize separately, oh, well, I'm not monetizing every minute that I'm creating. Like sometimes I just want to create and I get in a zone. I literally forget about everything. And what's interesting, I was looking back and actually thinking about this recently, is some of my best work was in my worst times. Like when my dad was first in the hospital and he was super like septic and I couldn't even breathe for a couple of days.
Mm.
And then finally, I'm like, you know what? I have a class due. I need to film a look for my online classes platform. Let me just try to get in the mood. And one really, really late night, I just started playing with makeup. I didn't know like what look I was going to do. I just kind of played. And it just became this like, I stayed up here literally all night. I don't think I got back to my, the living part of the house for hours. And I created the best work. And this has happened a lot. And I was looking back and I'm like, oh my God, that's not the only time. Like, it's just you escape. And that is my self-care, is just creation and doing my makeup and then wiping the whole thing off and going to bed. Like, it's not for an event, but it helped me. It helped me really cope through a lot of things. And, for example, I had a really bad breakup with my husband before we got engaged. It was a really nasty breakup. And during that time, I think I did really well. Like, the beginning was hard, like the first few months, I would say. Like, there was a lot of tears, a lot of like anger and resentment. And then once I realized, you know what, this is a great time for me to focus on me. I graduated college during that time. I got to walk. Um, I was closer than ever to my cousins and my friends. Like, there was other ways that I was able to escape my sadness from what had happened, and I was able to thrive. So, that's kind of my self-care, is the escape that comes, when things go bad.
But your creativity puts you in a zone, and that is your meditation.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
100%.
So
Yeah.
you meditate, just not the way other people
Just a little
meditate.
differently.
Right. Some people meditate by ironing. Some people meditate by washing dishes. You do it
Yes,
by
washing
makeup
dishes.
and yeah.
Yeah,
And also, when we're in a dark space, we get tunnel vision and we only see through this tunnel and we forget that there's other things going on. So, when you were so sad about your husband or breaking up with him, that's all you were focused on. But when you saw, hey, I could go finish school, I can go hang out with my cousins, that expanded your view of life. And
100%.
so, yeah, you do meditate, not the way that people think. And that's what I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people think, well, I have to take a bubble bath and I have to get a massage and I have to meditate and say Om for 30 minutes. No, find your zone and
Yeah.
escape mentally.
Yeah. I mean, if certain things cause more stress for you, or like you can't even really focus on something because you hate it so much, that's obviously not going to work for you. I
Yeah.
took yoga actually, to see if that would help me. It was actually during the breakup. I was, back in school, and I took yoga, and I probably only showed up to the first day and the last day of class. I was like, this is not happening for me. And then, I actually took anger management through my college, through my university, and that was actually really eye opening. I feel like that helped to form my later years too, learning how to kind of cope with your anger and not immediately responding, kind of sitting on it for a little bit, and then later on with a clearer mind responding. All these little things definitely helped.
Well, those are all tools that we can all benefit from. And it was
Yeah,
actually going through school and studying psychology that I learned how to help myself. So it gives
nice.
you a lot of tools.
Yeah, yeah.
So you just came off of an amazing collaboration with Lashkara with your clothing designs in India, and
Thank you.
you have so many other collaborations. So what's next for you? Any exciting products in the pipeline? Anything that you're working on that you're excited about?
Yes. I mean, there's so many passion projects, and that's one thing about me. Like, it's hard for me to focus just on one thing. I'm forever just doing a million things at once. Um, and so, and that's probably because I get bored very easily. So I just kind of jump, jump, jump. But yeah, the Lashkara line, that's a continued partnership. I hope to continue doing, really beautiful collections for them for years and years to come. This was our first family collection where I was able to include my husband and my son in on it. And it was such an amazing launch, very beautiful video that I'll cherish forever. And so we are hoping to get more in the works for the family lines. After that, over the next year or so, you might see a new brand emerge. That's all I'm going to say. You might. see a new brand emerge. And that would be just mine, not a collaboration. So lots happening.
Oh, how exciting. And you've already done some amazing, you had your own palette at Sephora and you had a lot going on. And so that's really cool. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear
Thank
what
you.
comes up next for you. So knowing what you know now about, all the struggles that you've gone through, all the lessons you've learned, what advice do you have for your younger self, or even what advice do you have for your children growing up in the spotlight? And then also, what advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs who are dreaming of achieving your level of success, but worried about the pitfalls of fame?
I would, and I love that you said, what would I tell my kids? I don't think anyone's asked me that before. The advice that I would give my kids, first of all, is empathy. I know everyone says, okay, self-love is like the biggest thing. As long as you love yourself, you'll thrive. That, of course, is a given, but at the same time, it's very hard when all you're seeing at some points is hate. You start to believe it. And it's really, really hard. One thing that helped me that I would definitely tell Alia, and Rian when their time comes, is come from a place of empathy for those people who are hurting you online. Because 100% of the time, it's not about you. It is 100% about them and what they're going through. How much hate can one person hold is truly based on their life experience and hate that's happened to them. Unfortunately, it's a vicious cycle. You've been bullied all your life, you're going to bully back. You're a victim, now you're the one hurting others. And so one of the things that helped me kind of understand during that mental switch period of my life was that this isn't about me. They're so sad and so hurting themselves that they feel the need to lash out on someone. And what better target than someone who's loved by so many people or who's doing really great, and you wish that you had that. And I don't even want to say that, oh, these people are jealous of you, that's why they're doing this. It's that they are hurting and they want to feel the love that you're feeling. They want that level of success in their life, that level of stability in their life that maybe they don't have. Maybe something major is missing in their life or something's happened in their past. And I think that as long as all of us are more in tune with each other's needs and we're empathetic towards that, that's when this world can actually move forward and change, instead of just teaching our kids the mentality of they're jealous of you. As long as you love yourself and you stay true to who you are, that's all that matters. I think there's that other level of, you should also understand that they're coming from a really, really rough place, and to just show love as much as you can. You may want to hate them back. You may want to talk a lot of shit back, but there have been times where I really thought about that and I responded in a very respectful and loving way. I never heard from them again, ever. And I think that could be a cure, to a lot of the hate that's out there. So I think that would be the number one thing that I would really try to make them understand, is that it's not about them. It's about the people who are hurting you. And it's really their situation, their pain that's coming out and coming to you, unfortunately.
100% of the time, it's not about you. It's about, because hurt people, like you just said.
Yes, exactly. And for businesses, your other question, advice I would give to them is, honestly, like, it sucks that it does come with the territory. Like I said originally, that's just how it is right now on the internet. But to also remember these things, all these things that we talked about, remembering that, yeah, it's them, it's not you. You can't make everyone happy. That will never happen. You have to prioritize your mental health over everything. So if there's something that's really, really hurting you, you take your step back, you vent as much as you need to whoever you can, or to yourself or to God, and you come back clearer. Just know that the more fame you have, yeah, there's going to be more eyes on you, and there's always going to be that. But remember, that's just such a small percentage of the people who are following you. It's such a small percentage of the people who need you, need your product, need your services. Always focus on that. And I think one of the things also that I forgot to mention earlier is, instead of me writing back to the hate messages constantly and like trying to put them in their place, I shifted my focus on those who love me. So instead of like pounding on my haters, I just loved my lovers more. And so that created a lot more positivity in my life, just showing my love back and giving back as much as I can, doing giveaways and having fun with my audience and having that really cool connection is what kept me going. And I think that, as a new brand emerging and, once you reach to the level that you're starting to see a lot of hate, and I think the hate actually begins in the very, very beginning from people who just are naysayers, people who are like, you can't do that, because they couldn't do it. And they don't believe that anyone else can do it if they couldn't do it. So it has, again, nothing to do with you and your idea. It's because they couldn't. And so just remembering that, I think all of these things, keeping everything in mind, that nothing is direct at you, and you just kind of stay in your lane, focus on the people who love you, just pour more water into that garden of love, and it'll just grow and grow and grow more. And those little weeds eventually will have such a small little place that you're just not even going to notice them, because your garden is flourishing so damn much that you're like, oh, let's just like take the fruits from this. So I think that's like the best analogy that I can give to anyone on social media.
I love it. I love that analogy, because it's like the law of attraction. Whatever we focus on, that's where we're going to see more of. If you focus on the hate, like you were looking for it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I
you're going to
was
see more
seeking
of
it.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when you focus your attention on seeing love, and even with prayer, the best advice I received was pray for what you want to see instead of what you don't want to see. Instead of like, please don't let me fail, focus on, please let me succeed. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what keeps you grounded? Do you have any advice on, because some people will get caught up in all of that. What advice do you have on keeping grounded and being true to yourself and being authentic?
For me, it's just staying very close to my family, being very close to my in-laws, making sure that at least once a week we are surrounded by them. And I that's when I'm just like, I'm brought right back, and kind of focusing on the daily family life too. Like, we can travel and have all that extravagant fun, but we're human beings with a family. We have parents. We have our own duties at home that have nothing to do with the career that we're in. And that's what keeps me grounded. Being a mother keeps me super grounded. I have puke on me almost 24/7. I've changed way more poopy diapers than I want. And that's life. And so, yeah, I say surround yourself with family if you can. If you don't have family nearby, try to FaceTime call as much as you can. Have friends that will tell you the truth and keep them very, very close. And ultimately, if all else fails, and even if all else succeeds, continue your relationship with God or whatever you believe in as a higher power, because that truly just kind of keeps you in a very, very safe place.
Exactly. Prayer and family and really true, honest friendships and connections and family is what keeps us grounded. And if you're surrounded by those people that can actually tell you the truth, you're not going to get caught up and lose who you are, right? Because a lot of people, and when there's a lot of fame and people want to monetize you and make money off of you, they're going to tell you whatever you want to hear. You're not going to get the truth, right?
It will never. Yeah, exactly. I keep my circle very, very tight. I don't have friends because I can see through it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We all want to benefit from each other. It's okay to have a business relationship. It's okay to have a business friendship and gain something from each other if you're both benefiting from it. Or if you're just a giver, I've had many friendships where I was just the giver and I was fine with it. But now, as someone who is a mother of two, a daughter of, a sick parent, there's just so much of you to give, right? And like I said, you can't pour from an empty cup. So I keep my circle very, very tight. My friends who were my friends from the very, very beginning are still my friends now. We are very close. We don't talk all the time because we're all busy. But as soon as we do talk, they understand that we just jump right into wherever we left off. My family's the same way. My cousins who don't live here, they live in the Bay Area. We don't talk for weeks on end, but we're watching each other on social. I know what they're up to. They know what I'm up to. And when we see each other, it's like we never separated. So those are the type of people you want to just stay very, very close to.
And also, you need to be protective of your energy. You can't just give it away because, yeah, eventually your cup will be empty and you have nothing. You
Yeah.
have to fill yourself back up.
Exactly. I didn't know about this until later. I was forever giving, 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 giving. I was on social media 24 hours just giving. I'm still giving a whole lot, but I know when I'm tapped out.
Well, now you're learning how to set boundaries and set limits, and that's so
Yes.
important.
Yes, 100%.
Well, I have had such a wonderful time talking to you. Thank you for making the time. Where can people find you and connect with you?
On Dress Your Face on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I had fun. This is awesome what you're doing.
Wow. What a powerful reminder to be in gratitude with wherever we are right now. And regardless of how successful we become, we need to remain grounded in our faith and surround ourselves with those who keep it real. Tamanna talked about zoning out creatively as a form of meditation and self-care. Others might do the same with washing dishes or ironing. There is no right or wrong way to take care of yourself and create a sense of calm in your life. If you're looking for ideas to take better care of yourself, be sure to download my free PDF guide that gives you simple, practical strategies for prioritizing your mental and physical health. To download your free PDF guide, visit transforminganxiety.com/self-care. To learn more about Tamanna, please visit transforminganxiety.com/16. If you're enjoying the Mental Health Break podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please be sure to give us a review or 5-star rating since that'll help others find the podcast. I can't wait to see you here next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.